Caper Europe is a suave dance of mischief and skullduggery between two players, each criminal masterminds, drafting crew and equipment over 6 rounds in order to nab loot and set up heists while interfering with their opponents along the way. At a surprisingly honest 25 to 35 minutes, each game takes place in one of 4 different cities that each add their own locations, crew, and equipment to be mixed into their respective decks, adding a bit of variety and unique flavor, not to mention a few city-specific mechanics onto their cards. To set up, 3 locations are put out as the contested heist targets for the game. Then the game's 12 loot tokens, made up of 4 each of 3 different types, are randomized and assigned to each location. Important to note that these aren't rewards for the heists. These are a little parallel set collection element to contrast with the endgame payout of controlling a location. Then, alternating between rounds of crew and equipment drafting, as oh so helpfully laid out on the board, players take turns drafting cards from their hands and assigning them to locations for a wide range of effects. Once 6 rounds are done, players count up points from the locations they control, determined by the heist marker on any given location being closer to you than your opponent, the loot tokens they've played, and any bonus scoring on the cards they played along the way. And then the player with the highest points wins. Sounds simple, right? Well, yes and no. All cards you play fall into different categories, though they can be broadly summed up as gear, the colored cards, which are played on top of crew, the cream-colored cards. Many cards have straightforward abilities, such as steal a loot or move the heist marker 1 step closer at their location, but they can also give you triggered abilities, like scoot the heist marker closer for all current and future gear of a particular color that you play at the entire location, or have targetable effects like destroy the topmost gear of an opposing crew member at their location, undoing the effects that card granted. All of these concepts are individually easy to grasp, but make for a wide array of considerations as you pass cards back and forth, especially compounded by the ongoing effects or bonus scoring of the locations where you play them. To top it off, gear generally costs money, and money in Caper is tight. Many of the crew and even some of the gear you play will net you $1 or $2, but in a surprising and rather devious twist for such an approachable affair, Caper is a zero-sum game. There are 10 coins and 10 coins only, and if you're going to grab coins and there's none from the bank, you steal from your opponents, but only if they have more coins than you, meaning that the whole array of decisions that you make will be impacted by your cash on hand, the cash held by your rival, and what's in the supply, making a really interesting additional pillar of tension to consider as you draft. Here's the deal with Caper. At first, it's honestly going to feel a little bit shallow, and that's mainly because it's so transparent and easy to understand each of the individual actions. But what I realized as I played more is that even though there isn't a lot of secret clockwork under the hood in this game, it's that very transparency and the sort of interactive pressure that every single aspect of the game applies upon itself that makes it much more easy to intuit the intrinsic cost of every action that you take. Each location has space for 3 crew members, but ultimately you're only going to ever play 6 crew members. Do you focus all on one spot, or do you spread yourself out? And whatever you decide, what opportunities does that leave your opponent? And when you're playing cards, tools come at a price. Did you think about the cost that you're going to have to pay for those? And speaking of the tools, the equipment, don't forget crew members can only have 3 equipment apiece. Do you stack early or leave yourself more options later on? Do you go for immediate payout by taking loot or focus on the long-term area control heist? Individual loot ain't worth much, but at 9 points for a full set of 3, grabbing 1 or 2 sets is no joke. What makes Caper work is that it's a lot of interesting opportunities in a very tight structure, such that when drafting, the cards you pass to your opponent are just as meaningful as the cards you play. Add to this the variety that you gain from the different city decks to the beautiful presentation with its 1960s meets Carmen Sandiego motif. From the artwork down to the brown velour-ish insert, the game is charming. but also narrow. While there's city variety for strategic consideration, it's designed in such a way that the combined generic and city-specific crew and gear cards will be fully drawn into each game, so the sense of discovery wears out pretty quickly, which would be a problem if this were any longer or deeper of a game. As it stands, the game is pretty breezy and packs such a great amount of tension for its lightweight and accessibility by way of the 3 simultaneous games of tug-of-war, the 3 heist markers, the set collection, and the consolidation of coins, that I don't need it to have a huge amount of depth. The tension and the locations and what cards come into your hand at what time and what your opponent has done all factors into the value propositions you have every turn, which feels really, really good. If I had any other major criticism, it's that even though the individual actions aren't hard to grasp at all, the iconography can be a little esoteric even for experienced gamers. That, and because of the way my brain works, this game makes me think of both Wes Anderson and The Final Empire, and now I'm just sad and disappointed that I won't get the twee indie adaptation of Mistborn that we all deserve, but I guess the game can hardly be blamed for that. The production is charismatic, the gameplay is chic, and I had thought that Seven Wonders Duel had epitomized and perfected 2-player drafting, but by taking it in a completely different direction, Caper has taught us that there is so much more room to explore, and it's about as tight and exciting of an entry in the short-form 2-player drafting genre as can be. And that is our review. Let me know, what is your favorite head-to-head 2-player game? Do you like shorter games? Do you like longer games? What is your favorite drafting game of all time? Let us know in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching, thanks for supporting, thanks for doing all the things, and thanks for making the gaming community a better place. We all need to step up to do that, and with all of our hard work together, we can make this a welcoming, exciting, and invigorating hobby for everyone. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Jack for the Cardboard Herald.